Yo, what's up guys? In this video we're going to do a quick comparison of, maybe not quick, but it'll be a comparison of bodybuilding and kettlebells from an efficiency standpoint. Now, I'm very big on efficiency. I like to get the biggest result possible from the least amount of work. Specifically, what's the hardest type of work? In my opinion, the hardest type of work is actually thinking, right? It sounds like I'm joking, but I'm actually not joking, right? Thinking is one of the hardest things to do, and that's why most people don't do it. And that's, not just dumb people. That's most people don't actually think. And like I said, because it's hard, requires work, requires effort. Whereas most people just generally, as far as humans go, prefer to kind of operate on autopilot. And that's fine. That's just how the human race exists and has existed. That's just how we're wired to not want to think about every little thing from moment to moment. But the problem is that if you choose the wrong autopilot to engage, if you choose the wrong program to load into the computer, so to speak, then you're going to get the wrong result, I guess is the best way to put it. So, I don't want to, this isn't like me shitting on bodybuilding. I have done bodybuilding for many years. I'm doing it right now. Most of the time that I'm spending on working out is done at a gym doing pretty much bodybuilding workouts with a couple variations. But that said, I think that there is definitely the case to be made for doing kettlebells instead. And just because I do it does not necessarily mean that it's the best thing to do. And actually, honestly, after I made this little comparison right here, I think I'm going to go to Walmart and buy a kettlebell and get back into it. I personally just go to the gym to do bodybuilding because I like to go to the gym and I think it's more fun than like working out in my room that I spend too much time in already as it is with a kettlebell. Like I don't want to work out here also, you know what I mean? Going to the gym is like a way to get out. Anyway, let's get into this little comparison right here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to go over bodybuilding. Now, if you look over here, I've listed all of these exercises, right? About 50% of this side right here is all of the exercises that you're going to need to do, give or take. I didn't list every possible exercise, for all you nerds out there. But what I wanted to illustrate with this here is that in order to get a good workout with bodybuilding, you need to think a lot more, that thing that we all hate to do, and you need to think about what exercises you're going to do specifically. So, for example, let's say you're going to go work biceps, or biceps is one of the body parts that you're going to be working. You need to decide, okay, am I going to do bicep curls, preacher curls, concentration curls, wide grip with like the cheater bar, incline curls. You've got all these different exercises to choose from, which will offer a minimal difference in like muscle stimulation or whatever it's called. A minimal difference, but the problem is that these exercises need to be rotated every couple weeks so that you get a consistent, so you like, I don't know, we used to say, so you shock your muscles, right? So there's like so your muscles continue to grow basically, because the main point of bodybuilding is to make the muscle bigger and, as opposed to like increasing the strength. So if you're constantly doing the same exercise, your body's going to get used to the stimulus and the muscle is going to stop growing. Unless you do something called greasing the groove, which we'll go over in a little bit. But anyway, the point is that I listed all of these exercises that you need to do. And a lot of these are like multiple exercises within one, right? Like flies, for example, there's different types of flies that you can do. All these rotator cuff exercises that you should do. If you're working out, you should definitely do those. But anyway, the point is that with bodybuilding, it requires a lot of thinking, and that the difference in benefit is not really that large, especially when you consider the learning curve that is required for somebody to actually do bodybuilding efficiently. You need to know what your imbalances are. You need to do things to like stretch your tight muscles, strengthen your loose or your stretched muscles, I guess, your overstretched muscles. You need to be consistent. You need to know how to split up a workout. You need to be like motivated to go every single day. There's a learning curve involved. Most people are not at that learning curve and they're not going to be dedicated enough to get there. And then the bottom line is that once you do get there, what is the ultimate payoff? Is it really that much better than doing kettlebells? I don't think so. And then let's jump over here because I think this is a good topic to go over right now, and that is that natty lifting is a meme. So I'm kind of joking, right? But I'm also kind of not joking. The progress that you will make, and this is specific to bodybuilding, but the progress that you will make as a natural is not, I don't want to say it's not even close, but it's it's not you can't make the same progress as a natural. And if you want that, like if you don't have top tier genetics and you want that like freakish, even not freakish, even just like really fucking ripped and good looking, and you have shit genetics and you're like normally a skinny fat, you know, whatever person, and you're not like one of these like guys who like never works out and you're just jacked or ripped or whatever, you're gonna probably have to use some sort of, you know, performance enhancing drugs. You don't have to. I'm sure everyone's like already typing in the comments like, no, you don't need that. And you don't need it, but it's gonna take a lot more work to do it if you're not on something. Okay. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I've been doing TRT for a couple months now, and it's just way easier to build muscle. It's like way easier. It's way easier to build it, and it's way easier to maintain it. It's way easier to like push yourself in the gym. It's way easier to get yourself to the gym after a long day of work. It makes everything so much easier. There's a reason they call it fraud or cheating, you know, because it kind of is cheating. Like, does that mean you shouldn't do it? No, I think it's still amazing. I think everyone, you know, who is reasonably healthy should do it. But it doesn't change the fact that like if you're trying to do all of this shit as a natural, all of these things and all of these exercises, your progress is kind of going to be limited because you know, you're just trying to do it as a natural. It's much harder. Anyway, not saying you shouldn't do it, and there definitely is some merit to doing bodybuilding. But anyway, we'll go over that later. Anyway, after that, you got to do cardio, right? If you're doing bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is inherently anaerobic, and it's not going to offer much of a like cardiovascular or aerobic benefit to your body because you're doing these sets that are like, you know, how long does it take to do a set of tricep extensions? Like 30 seconds, maybe 40 seconds. That's not going to do much for your cardio, right? So you have to integrate cardio into that afterwards. And that's after doing an hour of weight training. Like, who has time for that? Like, I'm sorry, you have a real job and a life and a family, and you're going to spend an hour and a half in the gym every day. It's not easy, really. It's not easy to juggle everything, you know, as a natural especially. The next one is that it requires a gym. You know, gyms are cheap these days. Fine, you know, I go to Planet Fitness, like I said, $20 a month. I kind of want to join the UFC gym. They have one down the street. But for now, Planet Fitness is fine. But the point is that it requires a gym. You have to go to the gym in order to do bodybuilding, pretty much. Or you have a home gym that you manage to spend thousands of dollars on, you know, to get all the weights and machines and benches and stuff like that. And not only that, going to the gym, driving, getting ready, going out to your car, parking, all that stuff, that is an additional time requirement. Remember, and we're talking about efficiency in this video. Which one is more efficient? Which one is going to get you a better result from the time that you spend actually doing it? Minimum time that you're going to probably need to work out doing bodybuilding, including rests and all that stuff, is going to be about 45 minutes. You can easily spend up to 2 hours in the gym. Anybody who works out regularly, you know this to be true. And bottom line, inefficient. It's just inefficient. Another thing that I don't like about bodybuilding is that these e-celebs, YouTube fitness personalities, professional bodybuilders, anybody basically who is promoting fitness and also recommending that you buy a supplement or a piece of like fitness clothing, those people 99 times out of 100 are kind of misleading and dishonest. Either that they are like hiding steroid use, or they're just blessed with good genetics and they recommend, because bodybuilding basically comes down to doing all of these exercises, right? Again, like I said, I may have left some of these out, but essentially it's pretty much these, like, I don't know, what is this, 35, like 40, maybe 40 exercises that you're going to do, that you're going to rotate every couple of weeks. It's pretty much this. These are all pretty much the same. And some people will be like, oh no, actually I do like bench press, but I alternate my arms, and that's why I'm, you know, jacked. It's not going to make that much of a difference, right? The people who do bodybuilding who are natural and jacked, they are that way because they just have good genetics. Like, bottom line, nobody wants to hear it. Everybody can get a nice body. You can't. I'm not saying that you can't, but like, you take two people who are doing this same set of exercises and rotating them in the same way. If one has really good genetics and the other one has shit genetics, the one who has good genetics is going to look like a bazillion times better. That's just how it is. You know, you don't like it, too bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't work out. I'm not saying there's no health benefits to working out. You definitely should. But you just have to keep that in mind, that if you're natural, you're not going to look that good doing bodybuilding. You're just not. You're going to look good. You're going to look 100 times better than most people walking around. But if you really want that like top 0.0001% bodybuilding, I don't think is the way to do it. If you're not blessed with good genetics. That's just my opinion, I think it's a shame that that's kind of what's recommended to most people. But anyway, bodybuilding is technically more well-rounded if you know what you're doing, right? So obviously doing 50 different exercises that'll hit your muscles all from different leverage points, that is more well-rounded than doing 10 exercises, that are all full body exercises, obviously. But the point is that you need to know what you're doing in order to be able to like structure a routine so that you're doing them at the right angles. Because there's doing just pull-ups on their own, there's a lot of different pull-ups you can do. Like, what pull-ups should you do? How should you do them? If you don't have experience and you don't know what you're doing, then you might not pick the right one. Although I guess pull-ups is a bad example, because is that a bodybuilding exercise? Maybe pull downs is probably a better example. So I would say there is a steep learning curve to bodybuilding, even though, with like Nautilus machines, or like whatever the machines are called these days, you can pretty much get a well-rounded workout without having to think too much. It's still just very time inefficient, in my opinion, unless you're doing like super slow, super setted training, which most people aren't going to do. They're going to, throw the weight around, go like this, and then just leave the gym. Now let's talk about some pros of bodybuilding. Now these don't necessarily they don't necessarily have to do with efficiency, but again, like I said, what you decide to choose does not always necessarily depend on efficiency. You could just do bodybuilding because you prefer bodybuilding, right? Why am I doing it right now? Because I enjoy going to the gym, right? Like, I just like to go to a location that is not the place I work and not the place that I live, and perform some sort of activity there. I just like to exist in that building for an hour with other people. It's just fun for me. It's like a nice way to get away from my routine. So that's definitely a major benefit. And honestly, I think that's one of the reasons that most people do it, is because you can go, you can be left alone, you can listen to your music. It doesn't necessarily require you to engage with other people, although that option is there. Just in terms of exercising and working out and getting fit, it's not really that efficient. Or it's efficient, it's better than nothing, but is it the best? No. And I think that one of the reasons, like there's two types of people. You have people who like are already working out and are already fit and already have fitness as like a part of their lifestyle. And it's not that big of a deal for them to switch from Planet Fitness, for example, to the UFC gym, or to a yoga studio, or to Pilates, or I don't know, fucking spinning class. It's not a big deal for them to like go from one to the other. The other type of people are people who don't exercise at all and are just trying to pick something to get themselves in shape. So like, if the second group of people, the ones who are just trying to get into shape, if they're looking for the most efficient method of exercise, I would not say it is bodybuilding for these exact reasons right here. Now that said, it could be the case that the enjoyment of going to a place that is not your house, not the place that you work, to exist in that building and do a physical activity and potentially meet other people who you can become friends with, or even like look at other human beings face to face. It could be that is enjoyable enough that you're willing to sacrifice the like slight reduction in efficiency from bodybuilding. It's possible. Anyway, don't want to get too into it. It's social and fun. Bodybuilding is it social? Really not so social. It can be social if you talk to other people. But I think it's fun. I think it's social and fun. I talk to people at the gym. I have people I say what's up to, like, call them nodding buddies. Like, you're like, oh, what's up? But that's just me. I'm a social person, or I try to be a social person. Also, going to the gym is very good networking. And I say going to the gym, I guess I mean doing bodybuilding at the gym, because that's what most people do. I used to work out at Equinox, and they're like, there's a fucking millionaire at the one that I worked out at. Maybe not everybody, but 50% of the people that work out at that gym are like doctors, plastic surgeons, business owners, real estate moguls, like big money going around in there. If you go to Planet Fitness, where I do, probably not. But if you join, think about it like this. let's pretend you could pay $200 a month, which is expensive. $200 a month for a gym membership is a lot. But $200 a month for membership to a club that is frequented by hundreds and hundreds of millionaires on a regular basis, that you can actually go talk to and meet and network with in person, that's pretty cheap. Don't you think? That's really cheap when you think about it like that. And you have the added benefit of being able to do some of the best fitness classes in the world, some of the best like group aerobics classes in the world. And work out in like a full-fledged gym. That's a fucking deal right there. I kind of, when I hear it like that, I kind of want to, too bad there's no Equinox in Vegas. I'd join it like that if I could. Anyway, the point is that bodybuilding is not very efficient, right? If we're talking about like in terms of a workout, right? It's because it requires a lot of knowledge of all these different exercises. It requires a larger time investment. It requires a gym. It requires additional work for cardio, additional core work as well. And the learning curve is very steep because these e-celebs are misleading, and it is only more well-rounded if you know what you're doing. Plus, if you try to do it naturally, it's, you're going to have limited results. Although there are some, pros to it as well, in my opinion. Now, let's talk about kettlebells. Okay, I'm a huge fan of kettlebells. Ever since I found Pavel Tsatsouline, I don't know whatever his name is, ex-fitness instructor for the KGB back in, or was it Spetsnaz? I don't know. Spetsnaz, KGB, one of those like elite Russian units in the Soviet Union. This guy is legit. If you somehow don't know who he is, I'll put a link in the description to one of his videos, which I think is really good. But this guy kind of popularized kettlebells back in the early 2000s. He's written a lot of books on them. They're very entertaining. Highly recommend that you read them. You can find free PDFs online, but if you want to support this guy, I think you should buy them. A couple bucks on Amazon. It's not that big a deal. Anyway, kettlebells, you guys have seen them. They're the like balls, the iron balls with the handle. And the benefit of the kettlebells, there's a couple benefits. Number one, it's much, much, much more efficient. Why? Because this is pretty much the only exercises that you need to do. Yeah, there's other ones that you can do. There's variations of all these exercises as well, but essentially there's not really that many things you can do. You can do, and most of these are Olympic lifts, right? So like you guys have seen the Olympics, the Olympic lifts. There's a reason why that is the event in the Olympics and not like the bicep curl or I guess, is the bench press in the Olympics? No, it's not. But the reason is that these Olympic lifts are arguably the best judge of how strong somebody is, because they are the most complex and require not only strength, but flexibility and also coordination, in addition to massive amounts of strength. Now, the problem with trying to train the Olympic lifts is that you need an Olympic bar, you need a barbell, you need what's called bumper plates, which are these like, I don't know, are they rubber? Like rubber plates. At the gym, they have like the metal plates, right, that you put on the bars. These are rubber plates. So anyway, the benefit is that you can drop them on the ground and they won't, put a hole in the floor. You need a clean and jerk station, which are these like platforms that you throw the bar onto so it doesn't destroy the actual floor itself. And you need a coach who's like standing there making sure you don't, fucking dislocate your spine or like tweak your shoulder or drop the weight on your head. You need a lot of stuff to happen in order for you to actually be able to train Olympic lifts efficiently. Or you can buy a kettlebell and you can train these Olympic lifts on your own in the privacy of your own home. Instead of, using a bar or like really heavy weight, you can get a 20, 30 pound kettlebell and you can practice them on your own and still get, 80% of the benefit, 60% of the benefit, which is a lot because you're still building lots of strength, you're still building lots of coordination, and you're still building reasonable gains in flexibility, I guess. Not as much as you would with an actual bar. But anyway, it's still much more efficient because you're building all of these things at the same time with a much smaller list of exercises. I forgot to put press in here also. I put it here. Press, yeah. Anyway, a much smaller list of exercises. So instead of you needing to keep track and master and like write down and know how much you lifted and like know what setting on the seat you need to put it at for your like rear delt, whatever this is called, reverse press or reverse fly. Instead of having to keep track of all those things, you just need to keep track of these, right? Oh, how much, and most people only have one kettlebell at a time. You know what I'm saying? So like it's much easier to keep track of all these things because you're just doing these couple exercises. All right. I think that doing kettlebells will give you, where did I have it? Automatically builds a balanced body. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I kind of fell in love with kettlebells back in the day. I read, back when I got out of the army, or while I was in the army, I think, I read Pavel's books, and the way that he pitches them makes it seem like they're like God's answer to fucking working out. It's like you don't have to keep track of shit. You just pick these exercises. They build your grip strength. They build your core strength. They just make you stronger. And if you focus on the right ones, specifically, I like the snatch and or is it like squat thrust, like the thrust press, which is basically a squat, and then at the top of the squat you do a press. Killer exercises that will build all of the necessary like parts of your body without you having to do anything. I guess the one thing that it doesn't really build is your chest, but go find a dip station at a park and you can do that, right? So like I guess I'll just write in here any neglected body parts can be supplemented with simple calisthenics. Push-ups, pull-ups is basically what I mean, right? So basically, what would this look like in terms of a training protocol, right? Bodybuilding, you got to do all this shit, right? Not fun. Kettlebells, you do these, and then you supplement with push-ups, pull-ups, squats. The one problem with with not doing bodybuilding is that it's hard to, you can't really get the same training response from your body. There's really no substitute for squatting heavy weight, I guess, and deadlifting heavy weight. There's no real substitute for that, as far as I know. So that's the one thing. But like, who cares? Just do fucking 300 squats. You know, is it really that big a deal? You really need to squat fucking 400 pounds to, you know, pat yourself on the back and like post it on Instagram? I don't think you do. You could make that argument though. Okay, so anyway, they automatically build a balanced body, in my opinion, right? So like, you focus on all these exercises. Why do I say that it builds a balanced body? Because number one, it's very good for fat loss. So like having the appearance of a balanced body that's like lean and mean and very tight and firm has a lot to do with how much fat you have on your body. And the fact that it automatically builds a balanced body means that all of these full body exercises work so many muscles that between all of them, you're going to pretty much get a sufficient workout on every single muscle group, assuming you do the dips and pull-ups and stuff like that as well, without you having to think about it, which is the main benefit of this style of training as I see it. So you don't really have to think about it. So this is the main one, in my opinion. These can also be done as cardio with light weight. So it's more of a cardio workout than bodybuilding for sure. If you want to take a 10-pound kettlebell or something, a really light kettlebell like that, and getting hot, sorry. And you want to do like 20 minutes of kettlebell snatches. Oh my God, are you kidding me? Do you know how good of a workout that would be? That would be an insane workout. Plus, it's pretty good cardio. You know, obviously, it's not going to be good as going for a run for 45 minutes, but it's still good. It still can. You can check that box if you want, and I guess you could say you could check that box by doing like, you know, a circuit of various exercises. You know, light weights, high reps with bodybuilding. I've never done that. I guess it's possible. It's just so much easier to do 20 minutes of snatches, alternating arms, one single exercise with the light weight that's already going to hit everything for you anyway. Basic bodybuilding can also be done with kettlebells, right? So you can do, you know, you can do curls, you can do like a press, like a bench press if you lie down on the ground. You can do a shoulder press, you can do squats with a kettlebell. You can do the basic stuff, right? Are you going to be able to squat 300 pounds? No. But you can squat 60 pounds, right? Holding the weight in front of you like that, which is pretty hard. It's not easy, but it's still pretty hard, and it's going to hit different muscles as opposed to if you just load the bar up on your back and just pop out a couple squats like that. Easily done as high intensity interval training. You could say the same about bodybuilding as well, but there's a difference. I don't know. I just feel like these exercises, they build strength so much more, like total body strength and coordination, as opposed to doing high intensity interval training of like pull downs or something, because this is so specialized here that in order for you to get an equivalent training response on all of the muscle groups of your body, you're going to have to do the same style of HIIT training on either every exercise, which is unrealistic from a time standpoint, or every muscle group, which is possible, but then you're committing to working out 7 days a week in order to hit every single muscle group, or 6 days a week, which is a much longer time commitment as opposed to just checking every single box in every single workout and working out as much as you feel like you need to, if that makes sense. Kettlebells also train your core. I have always had the most delicious six-pack of my life when I was doing kettlebells, specifically snatches. It's one of the reasons I like snatches so much, is because like just something about, you know, when that weight goes up, like it just, you flex your stomach and that shit is just rock solid, and it's like, it like spreads the abs like an accordion, you know, it like stretches them and also contracts them in a way, which is, it's very good for your body, aesthetically at least. Kettlebells also burn fat and build muscle. Now, so there's this whole thing where like, it's like one of the dumbest debates on YouTube ever. It's like, it's impossible to burn fat and build muscle at the same time. Well, actually, no, it's not. Sorry, it's not. And they're like, well, no, your body needs to be anabolic and it can't burn fat if it's anabolic. Well, what you have to think about, maybe I'll make another video on this, I think I actually did, is that anabolic and catabolic cannot occur exactly at the same time. But is it possible that they occur within 10 seconds of each other or within an hour of each other, right? So let's say you're anabolic for an hour and then you're catabolic, right? Do you understand? It just depends on the window of time that we're talking about here. No, at the exact same instant, they cannot, you know, both be engaged, I guess, but you can alternate them. You can be catabolic for 8 hours during the day, and then for 2 hours at night, you can be anabolic and build muscle. Does that make sense? So like, you can't do it at the same time. That's semantically like valid. No, not valid. Sound, I guess. That's true. But that's not really the point of the question. The point of the question is like, over a couple weeks, can I burn fat and build muscle? Yes, you can. Of course you can. Or a couple days or in a day. Yes. Kettlebells also help to build solid, dense muscle plus strength. Not that bodybuilding can't, it's just that by the very nature of these exercises and how they're performed, they're trained to be very explosive exercises. I've seen many times people trying to do kettlebell snatches or swings at the gym, and they're not, like, the weight is not heavy enough for them. So instead of using momentum and using your core to pop your hips out to do the actual swing, they're just kind of squatting and then lifting the weight with their shoulder. That's not the way you're supposed to do it. The way you're supposed to do it is you're supposed to use momentum when you do kettlebells. And that use of momentum is what's going to train the explosive strength. And the explosive strength is what is going to build the solid and dense muscle, as opposed to like the, what do they call it with bodybuilding? Not like fake muscle, but like inflated muscle, I guess, I think is what it's called. Anyway, it's just different. Next one, with kettlebells, you're able to grease the groove, right? So this is a style of training also popularized by Pavel Tsatsouline, which basically says that instead of you trying to build dumb muscle, right, like what bodybuilding would do, what you should try to do instead is increase the neural adaptation of performing the same movement over and over, right? So for example, if you, the best example that I can give is like a boxer, for example, right? You have a boxer who practices punching 500 times a day, right? Throws 500 jabs, 500 crosses, 500 whatever hooks. His punch is going to be much, much, much stronger because he's practiced those movements over and over again. He's going to have a much harder punch than somebody who trains the same muscles but with a bench press, right? Somebody who can bench 500 pounds is going to have a much weaker punch than somebody who trains punching. You know what I mean? Even though the person who benches the 500 pounds technically has stronger muscles, he just doesn't have the control over his nerves to be able to engage them at exactly the right moments in order to have that very forceful punch. Does that make sense? So the point is that you should train the movements that you want to strengthen. right? Like, are you ever going to actually be bench pressing anything in the real world? Probably not. Are you ever going to be curling anything in the real world? Probably not. That doesn't mean that training those movements won't make you stronger. They definitely will, and they'll transfer over into your real life. Like, of course they will. But these movements right here are superior by their nature because they're full body, because they work a wider range of muscles, because they're more efficient, and most importantly, because they train these full body movements explosively, is what I would argue. So by training them through greasing the groove, not only are you training these extremely explosive movements, but you're doing it in a way that you are repeatedly encouraging your body to adapt to efficiently training, to efficiently executing those movements explosively, if that makes sense. I'd actually think about how to say that. So anyway, bottom line, it's just much more efficient for building strength that will last for a long time. Using the same example as a boxer, of the boxer that we used before, if you take an 80-year-old who's trained boxing his whole life, even though his muscles will deteriorate and degenerate over time, he will still have a very strong punch because he trained that punch, a bazillion times. He's still got control over his nerves to a lesser degree because he's older, of course. But compare that to a bodybuilder who lifts the same dumb weight, he's going to have a much weaker punch. And remember, we're comparing punch to punch. And in this case, the punch is the specific movement that we want to train, if that makes sense. And bottom line, like I said, these movements right here are more easily transferable to everyday life, to athletic activity, and to basically anything that's not just like lifting the weight and putting it back down. Time commitment for doing kettlebells also much more reasonable in the daily world that we live in today. Not saying you shouldn't do bodybuilding ever, but just like in terms of how easy it is to get in and out and get done, kettlebells clear winner there. Less preening and vanity, more power. Okay, so the one of the things about bodybuilding is that it's given rise to this preening culture of look at my fucking serratus anterior, look how beautiful I am. Let me take my gym selfie. And that's fine. I get it. We all got to do that. You got to market yourself. Instagram, like 5th most visited website in the world. You got to strut your stuff, I guess, especially if you're a fitness professional. But kettlebells is less about that, even though it will give you kind of what you're looking for in terms of an aesthetically pleasing body. It's just less about that, I guess, if that makes sense. The culture surrounding it is less about that, meaning that you focus on it less. There's advantages and disadvantages to that. You could make the argument that today's world that we live in with social media, it's in your benefit, it's in your best interest to be a vain, preening bundle of sticks, but what can you do? The next one is that it builds big forearms and grip strength automatically, right? So the way that the kettlebell is shaped with the handle and the ball or whatever it's called, a lot of the exercises will start out where you're holding the handle in your hand like this and the ball is resting on your wrist like this, or even resting on the back of your wrist, on the back of the wrist. Anyway, in order to keep your wrist straight, which is what you should do in most exercises and prevent it from crumpling forward or falling backward, you have to engage this muscle right here, or these muscles right here. Not only that, but a lot of the exercises like the clean, which you'll start with the weight here and you'll end with the weight here. And in order to get it from here to here on the way up of the movement, you're going to have you're going to bring it up like this, and you're going to kind of have a popping up motion, which is going to cause a very powerful contraction in your forearm, which is going to build the forearms, and it's going to cause the kettlebell to land lightly on the back of the forearm. And that constant landing on the back of the forearm is slowly going to build this muscle as well, because that impact is going to cause you involuntarily to flex this right here, whatever this muscle is called. Plus, like I said, in order to keep this firm the entire time, you need to keep this entire thing tight, right? Which is also good for your core. So if you want to build your forearms, kettlebells are very, very, very good for that. And it, again, like I said, it does it automatically. Also, kettlebells are generally a one-time purchase. If you have them at the gym, that's kind of the best of both worlds, right? When I would go work out at Equinox in West LA, they had, and this is one of the reasons why I signed up. I went and I took the tour of the gym. I saw that they had, fucking 3 racks of kettlebells. I was like, okay, this is the gym for me. Nobody ever used them. I was always the only one there. but they had them there. And so what I would do, little tangent here, but what I would do is I would always do my warm up with the kettlebells, and then I would go and I would do like whatever auxiliary exercises I wanted to do. The learning curve for kettlebells is also non-steep. I couldn't think of a word for like the opposite of steep. Gradual, maybe. Gradual learning curve. Anyway, it's not like these exercises are more complex than the basic bodybuilding exercises, but not so much. And the time that you will save by only having to learn 6 exercises and not needing to spend any time learning how to combine these exercises into a workout. It's like some days you do more of these, other days you do more of these, some days you only do these ones. Like that's it. That's as complex as it gets. That's a much much less steep learning curve than everything that you need to learn to create an efficient bodybuilding routine. And then, like I said earlier, any neglected body parts can be supplemented with simple calisthenics. Things like squats. You could do pistol squats and stuff like that. I've never really put too much time into learning exactly into focusing on one-legged squats. I just haven't. Other things like calves should also be focused on as well. Glutes train very well with kettlebells. Quads train very well with kettlebells. Hamstrings also train very well with kettlebells. Core gets hit very hard. Shoulders get hit very hard. You can do bicep curls. I had gigantic biceps from doing bicep curls with a kettlebell. No variation, just like hold it like here, curl it up. Sometimes you curl to this side, sometimes you curl to this side. I was just making shit up. But biceps were looking pretty juicy. Another thing, back has also worked pretty well. Chest can, kind of hard to work the chest with kettlebells. Do some dips, I guess, do some push-ups. It's not too hard to add in a couple additional exercises in order to enjoy the benefit from a physiological adaptation standpoint, as well as time efficiency standpoint, reward to time invested standpoint of kettlebells. Okay, so I wanted to make this video. I want to make more videos that teach people how to be efficient with certain activities, I guess. That I think is going to be the new my new modus operandi, whatever it's called. That's going to be my new thing. Cool. So let me know what you think about that. Do you guys have any questions on bodybuilding versus kettlebells? Any questions on kettlebells? I have a fitness course that is pretty much done. I just have to record the workout videos, and the workouts will be about kettlebells. So that is almost going to be done. I might give out a few review copies as well. So if you're interested in that, if you're actually going to take action and do the fucking exercises, let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.